Hey there everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Vicky Mgobozi. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. If you are a new viewer, please, before getting into this video, can you please just hit that subscribe button that's at the bottom of this here screen. It's big, black, it's red. But most importantly though, there's a bell icon right next to that icon. Please press on it so that you're notified whenever I drop something crazy like this gem over here. So unfortunately, it is a very sad time for all South Africans, as earlier on this week, the President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa announced that he'll be extending the lockdown for 2 extra weeks. Nobody's excited about that, I can tell you that for sure. I'm not excited about it simply because I'm over it. Being stuck in your house for 2 weeks that we've already had to endure is just a lot. Now to add on an additional 2 weeks to the 1 week that I thought was left until this whole thing was over really sucks. But not only that though, I'm also very much worried about keeping my habits in check and making sure that I'm still living my healthy lifestyle. Because I did mention in one of my previous videos that I have a really interesting relationship with food, and by interesting I mean unhealthy, because the reason I was able to keep the weight down for the last couple of years is because I've really been pushing hard at the gym, and now that that's been taken away from me, it's gonna be really hard to keep the weight down. But I've done it before and I will do it again. And because I've done it before, I mean, I did a whole video talking about my journey and my weight loss journey, emotionally, physically, and all that stuff. I figured, why not share my expertise with you today? So that is why I'm here today, guys, to give you 2 ways I managed to keep my weight down. But now bear in mind, this is obviously in conjunction with gym, but it still works, because you know what they say about weight loss, 80% of the work comes from the kitchen. So if you're not respecting what you're doing in the kitchen and being mindful of what you're doing in the kitchen, everything that you're doing in the gym is not gonna work, honey. So sit back, relax, listen to me as I give you the ones and twos on how to keep this weight down for the next 3 weeks to come. So when I kickstarted my journey, my weight loss journey, the first diet that I was introduced to was what they called at that time the Tim Noakes diet. And then I came to learn that they called it the Banting diet. Scientifically, I think, because the person who started this whole diet was William Banting. But I think now in the present day, they're calling it the keto diet. It's not exactly like Banting, but it's got a lot of similarities: low carb, high fat. So exactly that. The Banting diet is low to none actually carbs and high fat. The reason that people gain weight is because of the carb intake. So your sugars, your starches, and that includes your rice, sweets, bread, yada, all these simple carbs that you really shouldn't be having: white bread, cake, potato, sweet potato, even though it's healthy for you, but everything is healthy for you in moderation. But you need to keep a low carb, low to none. So what I used to do when I was in varsity is that I choose a cheating day. My cheating day was Saturday. That was the only day I was allowed to eat carbs. But even then, I wasn't being a gimba. I wasn't going all in and having like everything that day, because that just defeats the purpose. But it just means that you take a little bit of a break and you're a lot decent, or a lot more lenient towards yourself in terms of what you eat. So all the other 6 days, no carbs at all, which was very difficult because I stayed in a catered rest for the longest time. So I had to omit a lot of what made the plate full when you get to your serving at the dining hall. But hey, it came with losing weight and I was obsessed with it, so I didn't mind. And you could always just hoy in a lot of green salad, like high fat, so you can even have coleslaw there with mayonnaise. Like, it's okay to have lots of fats and oils on your plate, just no carbs. Trust me, it worked for me. But then again, this could be because I was running a lot. I'm almost sure that this diet is gonna work for you. So just keep the carbs to a minimum, sis. And then for the past couple of years, like for the past 2 or 3 years, what's been maintaining me is this new, I don't even know if I should call it a lifestyle, because I jump in and out of this eating habits, because it's not really a diet, it's an active eating habit. So you tell yourself that you're gonna eat this certain way. But before I get into that, so I got introduced to it the last couple of years, and it has changed my life for the better. Because when I feel like I'm starting to fall off, or I'm, losing the plot a little bit, I start doing this, and that's intermittent fasting. Now this one's a little bit complicated for me, so please be patient with me. I want to try to be as factual as possible because it's been a long time since I've actually sat down and read up on it, but I do understand it as, you know, as a concept, surface level, right? Because I'm applying it, okay, and it's seemingly very effective. There's many methods, right? But I adopted the 16-8 method. What is that? So with intermittent fasting, you basically break up your day to a fasting period and an eating period. So it's more controlling when you eat rather than what you eat. Obviously, your fasting period has to be longer than your eating period. So 16-8, 16 hours of fasting, 8-hour window of you being able to eat, which makes a total of 24 hours. That's method number one. Another method that people like to use is actually omitting days where they don't eat at all. They omit food. So for example, Tuesday and Thursday, those would be the days where they do not eat anything at all, and then the other days they can eat. Anybody who's trying to tell you that that way of living or that way of eating food is unhealthy is actually lying to you, because I've read many articles prior to shooting this video that confirm that skipping days, skipping meals, or skipping days of eating is actually more natural to the human body than having 3 meals every single day. I mean, we all know that fasting sometimes is obviously used for cultural purposes, for protest, for religious purposes, but intermittent fasting is commonly known for weight loss, and even people who are trying to bulk up use intermittent fasting because they want to get rid of the fat content in their body and have more of the protein content. The method that I adopted was the 16-8, and this is what I did. From 8 p.m. in the evening until 12 noon the next day, that's 16 hours, that's my fasting period, right? So from 12 noon until 8 in the evening, I'm allowed to eat. Do not quote me, but in your eating period, you can basically eat anything. But don't quote me, but you can basically eat anything. How the intermittent fasting thing works, I don't want to get into the science of it too much because even I'm not too sure about it, but there's a whole molecular, cellular setup that you're doing to your body that allows your body to burn more fat. Enough so that in your eating period, whatever you eat in that eating period won't affect your weight gain or loss, essentially. One of the articles said that intermittent fasting releases a hormone that makes it easier to burn stored fat, stored carbs. So with intermittent fasting, you're trying to burn the already stored carbs. So the whole idea behind it is that you're basically changing the molecular systems that are happening in your body to favor weight loss. Why did I make my fasting period run until the morning? That's because also science shows that when you work out in the morning, you're working out on an empty stomach, which means that you're gaining access to already stored carbs that you want to actually burn to see results. And also working out on an empty stomach increases your rate of burning fat by up to 30%. You have more of a chance to burn 30% more fat if you are in your fasted state, in your hungry state, in your empty stomach state, than you are if you've had a meal already, because the idea is you're burning, if you're working out after eating or after having eaten a meal, then you're burning the meal that you just had, which in turn you're maintaining your weight and you're not actually losing the weight. If you do not want to eat just anything, right, and you still want to maintain, you know, your healthy living in terms of, you know, what you eat and whatever, stick to organic foods. So nothing highly processed. Have your gluten-free foods, your low GI breads, your brown rice, don't have white rice. Organic food and nothing too processed. That way you are basically intermittent fasting at its most optimum, essentially. Okay. I know this probably sounds like a lot to try and remember, but to just break it down for you and make it a little bit easier. If you are the type of person where you know that you can't give up meals, you can't give up eating, even if it's for periods at a time. Then just stick to banting, where you don't touch carbs at all, keep it to high protein, have as much meat as you want, have as much fats and oils as you want, just don't have the carbs, honey. Personally, I think intermittent fasting is a lot more effective, and its rate of progress is very, very significant, and you can see it in a matter of as little as 2 weeks, whereas banting, it could take the whole month, personally speaking. But yeah, intermittent fasting, you don't even have to do 8-16 on the word go, you know what I mean? You could break it up to 12-12, you know, to 11-13 once you get used to it, to 10-14, you know, 9-15, and then you get to 8-16, you know what I mean? You work up to it. You don't have that much time though. You've only got 3 weeks. I would suggest that you just jump into it, 16-8. Your body gets used to it. If you feel like waking up in the morning, you are always very hungry, then sleep longer. What do you have to do if you're not essential service? Sleep longer, wake up at 11, then you have just 1 hour, then eat at 12 and that's your breakfast. Go to bed by 8. And do the same thing the following day, and you will be intermittent fasting easily. Try these simple ways of controlling your eating. So one's a diet and one's an eating habit, and the eating habit seems to be a lot more effective for me. And that's all she wrote today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, just_Leishlay. Let me know in the comment section, what would you like to hear from me? What would you like to see from me? What content would you like to see? Hit me up the comment section. Please subscribe, hit that notifications button so that you're notified whenever I drop some magic like this gem here today. On that note though, it's your boy Leash dipping out with some YouTube love. Mwah.